Okay. Well, it is 7:03 p.m. Central Standard Time, Tuesday, January the 11th, 2022. Welcome to week number 2 of Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice. And all you guys know me already, but for those who don't, Richard Wright. And this, as I said before, is it's a survey course. It's a course where there's no textbook. It's almost like an independent studies. Yeah, so, but I encourage you to keep up with your assignments. If you have assignments that are late assignments, I do encourage students not to email me, but instead to text me or call me so that we can get on top of it and maybe discuss it, put a plan together even. And so it's very, very, very important. Some students opt to email, but I prefer texting and or a phone call. So, well, let's get started. Let me share my screen with you. Okay. And here we are here, and you can see the course as you enter it. So messages, discussions, we'll come to that. Let's look at the calendar right quick. Again, reminding you, this is where we are. Your initial posts are due tonight. Your reply posts are due Saturday. And this is the live lecture here. And then Sunday, your written assignment, and then key phrase, which the three of you who are here will have a head start on getting that done. And so I remind you that your assignments for the week 1 will be completed by Friday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's pretty much the way it are, but you guys, most of you know that. And then the other thing that I show you is we don't go to December, wrong direction. February. Course ends the 8th of February, so which is less than a month from now, on a Tuesday night, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then you're aware that you have a live lecture on the first, that'll be the week 5 lecture, and then the week 6 lecture will take place on the 3rd, 2 days later. And the reason being is the course ends on the 8th. So it wouldn't make sense to give you a lecture on the last day of class. That would just counterproductive. So just may put that on your calendar and remember that. Okay. Let's go to the announcements. I did post a new announcement today, yesterday actually, about the student justice studies guide. There's a new one, and if you click on this link, it will take you to it, and you can find a lot of help with research, database writing help, APA, and things like that. You can get a library chat going. Every time you click in, that'll pop up. If it's during certain hours, we're still within those hours. This is your librarian, Dennis Johnson, and then Bethany Marston, which some of you know, Learning Center Services Coordinator. And Yep. So some of you have been serving as tutors, so you know how that works. So I want to bring that to your attention. And now the lecture announcement. Criminal behavior theories. And there's some about classical positive theories on crime, rational choice and routine active theories, and crime control methods. And the lecture again is at 7 o'clock. Participate in the discussion assignment. Green River Killer. Again, the initial post is due tonight. Reply post due Saturday. And then your written assignment for Sunday, crime theories. And then you know about my motto. Everybody in this course knows about adversity as a springboard to success and what that pretty much means. If not, you can refresh your memory by clicking on this and you can see it from there. Okay. So now let's get into the criminal behavior theories. And I'm going to supply you with some material that I have that have various theories that will help you as well. I'll send that right after the lecture is over today. So let's talk about the assignment first, written assignment. So you have a fact pattern given here, and you have to do not one, not two, but a minimum 3-page paper. Remember, it's double space, APA, and in that paper, you're going to discuss, explain the boys' criminal actions according to the theories of crime, the biological explanation, the psychological explanation, the social structure theory, and the social process theory. Then explain each theory or the one you believe best fits the situation and why. Again, it's 3 pages, APA. You know what that means. Citations in the body and a reference page with a cover page. And then here are some resources that you can click on that will help you. These links should be working. Let's just make sure. I think last time I looked, they were. There they go, right there. So you can use that along with this other one, dealing with social control and self-control theories. Got a lot of material right here. And then the third one, social structure. And you'll be able to take a look at that as well. So this will help you to prepare your paper. These are not the sole sources. And then this other information is help with APA, and you already know about how the rest of that works. Word document, not APA, not PDF or any other form. All right, let's go to the module and rubric. So you all should be familiar with this. It's very simple. You're basically going to take each of these theories and you're going to provide clear and comprehensive discussion. Remember, I operate in mastery. I don't pay attention to these. And if you don't satisfy this, then you'll end up with one or the other here. This is the worst one. This is where you have no citation in the body. Okay. So clear and comprehensive discussion of the biological explanation. Same with the psychological explanation. The same with the social structure theory. and finally, social process theory. And then make sure that clear and comprehensive discussion of which of the theories best fits the situation that is in this fact pattern. Okay. Any questions? Type in the chat box yes or no, or if I don't see anything, I'll believe that you have no questions. Okay, no questions from Joey. What about Jennifer and Macy? Any questions? Okay, Maisie, Jennifer, any questions? Okay, I guess not. Okay, so you know what to do if you have any questions. Okay, Jennifer, no, as well. Okay, so it's very important that you follow this column so that you can maximize your grade. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this, and then I'm going to go to the discussion. As soon as I can get this out of there, there we go. So the Green River Killer. So here's the deal here with this. There's an article about the myths and realities of serial killers, such as Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer. So what you're going to do is you're going to list the various problems that exist around the realities of serial killers. As you probably will discover and should know, serial killers get away with stuff because they are kind of, as they say, laid back. They don't make a big fuss. They don't bring attention to themselves. So you're going to write a minimum of 250 words that include a topic sentence, several body sentences, and a closing transition sentence. Write it in your own words. You can use in-text citations if you desire. And I'm not going to really be dogmatic about that. I've already said that before. And then you respond to a peer's post, one of your classmates as well. Okay, some of you have already started doing that. All right. By the way, going back to this, the link works. It was working today. Here, there we go. It's working now, and you can view a printable version of it, and you can deal with all of that. So this is just to give you the details of what it's about. Okay, so you can take a printable version as a PDF and utilize that. All right, you should be okay with that. Moving right along. Let's see, what was the question? Well, you always write your AP. You always write your discussion assignments. Most people do them as words. Most don't do them as PDFs. But however you respond. But APA does not necessarily mean Word. Word is the format that it can be edited. But no problem with that. I don't convert them over to Word docs when I'm grading. I just read the assignment, make sure that you have complied with it. And when APA, remember, APA has to do with citations in the body, references in the end. Okay, you don't have to have a cover page and a reference page for it when you do that. So I'm not that dogmatic on that. Okay, got it? Any more questions? The normal way you do your discussion post, that's how you're going to submit it. Okay, I'm seeing how many further questions. If you do, let me know. Okay, so now your live classroom recording, of course. This is where we are here, and this will be changed, and we'll show the link for the recording that we're doing right now, and then I will also email it to you as well. And then your live classroom phrase that you will get, and you put that in, and you know how to do that. That's due by Sunday, but you can do it tonight and get your points right away. So we're going to talk about these three areas here. Again, I'll send you some other materials as well. A lot of this today is I tell people it's supposedly an attempt to try to understand how criminals think, and there are various theorists who here. And so what we're talking about tonight is that um, we're just trying to discuss some general ideas, which, quite honestly, um, you'll see when we get down to the social, psychological, and biological, especially the social aspects of it. I delve into it more. But anyway, there are two basic theories. There's the classical theory and the positives theory. Those are the two major theories. And the classical theory says that people commit crime because they choose to, and they make a rational choice based on their own free will to commit crime. Now, so in other words, what that means is that a person decides, that's what I want to be. I want to be a criminal. And therefore, I will commit crime. Now, does that sound like that's the way criminals think in most cases to you? Yes or no? Good legal answer. Um, my answer is quite generally no, because um, they choose to, based upon their free will, to commit a crime. Okay, that might be a fact, but then there's more to it than that. So, in other words, what makes that individual? Okay, they have a free will. Okay, I mean, you make your own choice. That's why there's an old saying: you make your bed, you lay in it. Um, One of the things that we talk about in the Bible is that God gave us all a free will so we can make our own decisions and choices. However, based upon what we're going to talk about in a little while, we'll elaborate on that. So I know why you said yes and no. Um, so, but I'm not too sure if, okay, let's see. You're talking about that juveniles. Okay. Well, let's see. No, they do not choose at juvenile. It falls under social. Okay. And being taught. Yes, it comes a time, then they make a choice. Okay, well, I think that what you're really saying is that juveniles are influenced by others. Is that what you're really saying? Hmm. I agree with that. I agree with that. But just with the regular point of classical, that's why this is like, okay, it's not a, um, I don't think these two theories fit without further explanation as we're going to get into the positive theory. So let's talk about but so I get you, and I think you got something going there. But I think that what you're really saying more toward the positive theory. States that criminal behavior is not a choice, but rather a result of other causes in someone's life, such as poverty. Do you agree with that? You believe people commit, yeah, it's generational, but people commit uh, crimes when it's not a choice. For example, a person, okay, you guys have had drugs and crime with me, so you already know what I'm going to say, but I'll say it anyway, is that individuals choose to be criminals if they are drug addicts to support their habits because of the fact that they will commit crimes to support their habits. That's why I said that the course was called Drugs and Crime and not crime and drugs. So drugs um, uh, takes away the free will. Do you agree that a person that's on drugs has no longer has a free will? You agree with that? Do you think so? Yeah, but I think you're going a little too deep. But I know what you're saying. You're right. But the key thing is that the drugs actually control the actions of the person. So they are a prisoner to the drug, and the drug takes away their desire or ability to make a free will. Everything in their life focuses on getting um, some whatever they need to get that drug, right? Okay. So the criminal behavior is not a choice, but rather the result of other causes. And I think such as poverty, such as drugs, such as alcohol, such as mental illness. Um, so that's what we're going to be delving into for most of what we talk about. So, so the positives believe that there's the sociological, psychological, and biological reasons why individuals commit crime. Okay, that's the general um, posture of how it works here. Um, Mentioning one name, Cesar Beccaria wrote that on Crime and Punishment, where we see the first glimpse at criminal laws or statutes, because prior to this, punishment for criminal behavior were random and arbitrary, cruel, and unusual. Beccaria, though, brought the idea that the punishment must occur soon after the crime. And he's the one who's considered as the father of our laws that we have here. In other words, there must be something done to not allow that person, or at least to stay that person's actions um, to the point that it doesn't just keep happening. In other words, crime is not, how should I say, promoted, but it's discouraged, and it's discouraged by the laws that we have and the criminal justice system, result resulting in incarceration and things of that nature. So we deal with the three theories under positive, where it is clear that there's a combination of factors generally as to why individuals commit crimes. Um, I don't agree that where it says here, for example, where social theories blame criminally on the social environment, such as the family, the neighborhood, or school, doesn't explain why everyone in that environment does not turn to crime, as yours truly is. I was in a rough situation, but I didn't turn to crime. I turned to criminal justice. Not everyone who grows up in poverty joins a gang or commits a crime. So there has to be some other underlying factors that take place, and a combination of things. It's almost, I consider it like almost like a stew or a gumbo, where you have a variety of reasons. So let's start out now by talking about the psychological aspects. As you know already, that has to do with the mind, the process, how people think. And it's believed that if you are a victim of abuse, neglect, or witness violence, you're more likely to be antisocial and commit crime. Now, you know my feelings on that, don't you? Right? I'm living proof that that's not true. I went through and saw a whole lot if you listen to my story, and that's only the tip of it. But Freud says that criminality is a result of psychological conflict, and that negatively early childhood experiences increase the likelihood. It probably does increase it. But again, um, individuals, because they are criminals, often include low intelligence. I have never met a smart criminal in my life. Never. Because the definition of a criminal is a person who's been caught committing a crime. So they weren't very smart. They didn't think through their actions. And some might say it's low intelligence. Well, there are some people who so-called have high intelligence, but motivated with the wrong forces. For example, I know some individuals that I represented as a lawyer who were in gangs, who committed crimes, and they were extremely intelligent. It's just that they were associated with the wrong group of people, and they found themselves taking that high intelligence and applying it in the wrong thing, and they ended up in trouble. Let's see. Let's see what she's saying. Okay. The phrase ignorance of the law, not to law, is no excuse. Play into the positive theory. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it plays into the positive theory, but um, it, it it could. It would be, I would put it to you this way. Yeah, it falls into the positive theory. I'm saying corrected as opposed to the classical. So the answer is yeah, but as you know, come on, don't you know in what you've learned so far and what I know from my professional experience, as a police officer, as an investigator, as an attorney, defense attorney, prosecutor, that most individuals who are criminals, it has nothing to do with ignorance of the law. It has to do with other factors as to why they did that. So it's not so much that they didn't know. So if you're hungry and you go into a store and you steal a loaf of bread, do you know that that's a crime? Probably, but you're responding to the hunger and the poverty thing that we just talked about a few minutes ago. But you still are aware of it. So I don't give much credence to that statement to uh, most criminals, most criminals, because of what I've learned in the years of the various aspects that I operated in. So anyway, here's a real life example, and I'm not going to read through it. And you'll have a chance to uh, check it out, and you'll have a chance to uh, take this example here of this the what the field trip to Philadelphia night course revealed. And you know, I used to go to court and sit and watch. Um, and what would happen is that just what happened here, the judge would come and talk to us, even as lawyers, still same thing. And the students, we would be in the position where it says, why do these people continue to commit the crime when they know they'll have to pay a $250 fine each? The judge said that criminals have disconnect in that thinking process. That is what the point is. They don't connect the consequences until it hit them. Do you think that criminals commit acts with the thought that they would get caught? Yes or no? Most cases. Do you? Or do you think the opposite? Nobody's saying, okay, yeah. The answer is probably no. You know, they're not, hey, look at me, I'm a criminal, I'm getting ready to do this or that. But it's so not thought out to commit a crime. You know, you get caught on videos now, and you pull away in your vehicle, and um, your license plates and all of that are taking your face, and then people recognize you and they turn you in, those kind of things for rewards. I think they do it because they think they will get away with it. Well, that's the point. That's my whole point in a nutshell. That is exactly what I said. Is that, yeah, they think they're gonna get away with it. That's not the opposite. So anyway, looking at what happens, we look at other reasons. Psychological theories give us uh, an idea into the mind of individuals. Dealing with Sigmund Freud, who, if you took introduction to psychology, you know about Freud. Freud had issues. He says that each behavior has a cause that is rooted in childhood experiences. Like I said, he's got some points, and that's kind of like what uh, uh, Jennifer said earlier about juveniles. Uh, our subconscious is formed by our parents or caregivers who nurture us, um, or they ignore the needs and stunt the subconscious. So I can also tell you that there are opportunities given to children where I was a foster parent before, and I had children I brought in, showed them a new way to go, but they still ended up reverting back to what they knew. But one of the reasons is because the children were not babies. They were not babies. They were like 11, 10, 11 years old when they came. So they brought the baggage already. It was already put in them. And they actually had the effects that caused them to act the way they were. And you really have a lot of trouble changing that. There's a old theory that we talked about in psychology that your developmental years and in child development, uh, I think it's from 1 to 7, I think it is, something like that. 1 to 7, who you're gonna become usually is uh, shaped based upon a number of factors, and one of them is the psychological aspects. Okay, so criminals are what I usually refer to, and it says it right here, is self-centered and impulsive and selfish, because of the fact that they're just looking out for themselves. They don't care about what it's going to do to someone else and how it's going to affect their lives. All right. So that's the psychological. Um, the biological has to do with your DNA. Um, uh, as it says that um, ah, biology, biological indicates the presence of certain neurological conditions and antisocial and criminal behavior. In other words, it's your. Some people say it's the shape of your brain. It's things that have to do with the nervous system, but genetics. So if your parents were criminals, there's a pretty good chance that you could become a criminal. Not necessarily guaranteeing it, but look what it says here. It says, in researching the brain, research suggests that antisocial criminal individuals tend to exhibit reduced brain volumes as impaired functioning and connectivity in key areas related to executive functions such as emotion, decision making, and morality, um, while exhibiting increased volumes and functional abnormalities in reward. So, in other words, what they're trying to say is your brain is something that uh, gives you a reason, gives the reason why you do that. Genetics, it says, also plays an important role in criminal behavior, as a variety of psychological, and we just got through talking about psychiatric activities dealing with that individual and dealing with mental health disorders. So the key thing is that we conclude in this section, a significant body of research points to the fact that crime is inherited to some extent and links both the psychiatric and psychological constructs that determine the inheritance. So in other words, you're born to be a criminal. I've heard people say that. I disagree with that statement. Um, you are from a group of people that are known to have criminal tendencies. I disagree with that because then you're stereotyping individuals. So I have a lot of problems with that biological theory, a whole bunch of them problems. Okay. Now, if you're biologically a criminal, then that means that no matter what we do to help you in terms of trying to rehabilitate you, you're going to revert back to what you really are. We could be like a chameleon. You are familiar with a chameleon, how it changes for the environment. So if a individual is a thief and they're placed around a situation where they see a way to steal, they will take advantage of it. On the other hand, there are people who have been placed in situations. I remember once years ago when I was working and running a janitorial company, and this was even after I retired from practicing law. And I was in a store chain called Service Merchandise, and I was working with the cleanup people because I was their supervisor, and we were in the back of the store, and one of the drawers was open, and it had a lot of cash in it. So here we were coming along with garbage bags, and the guy said, "Richard, look at that! Look at all that money." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Are you familiar with a mouse trap or a sting operation?" Uh, I told him, I said, "Do you not know there are cameras on you to see what you're going to do? The bottom line is you're not going to get away with it." I had a young man I represented who did a stupid thing some years ago. When I was practicing criminal law, he was in an area where it was known for people to be homeless and derelict and laying out in the streets. There were people who were addicts, and this guy was sitting on the ground with his hat where people were putting money in it. And so anyway, my guy comes along and he sees some of the money, and he looks around and he don't see anybody. So he gets very smart and is going to grab not all the money. He's going to grab a 20 because he believes the guy is drunk. So he gets his 20 and he takes a few steps, and then the guy raised his head, and then police came from everywhere. I mean, it was like the Blues Brothers. If you, I'm dating myself in this, but at the end of the movie where they were surrounded with guns, they couldn't go nowhere. Well, that's what happened there. But that was it was an inevitable trap set out to see what was going to take place. And I famous last words of guys and gals that I represented that ended up behind bars. I said, obviously you didn't think this through. It was too good to be true. It was just sitting there, okay? And anyway, and here you were supposed to be cleaning up the store. The store hadn't opened yet, and you figured, oh wow, they forgot about it. But this was a test. It was a test, and so anyway, they didn't do anything, and so um, later on, the manager came back and he showed me the video of how it was and how I was having a discussion with the guys. So maybe if I wasn't there to have the discussion with them, maybe they would have gone for it. I don't know. But you know what I'm talking about. That's my whole point in a nutshell. All right. So that gets back to the point of what we've been talking about so far under these various theories, is that you didn't do, as Joey said, that you didn't do this with the intention of getting caught. You thought you were going to get away with it. Okay. You don't steal money knowing you're going to go to jail. Okay. Because that's crazy. All right. So now let's conclude this section here dealing with the sociological theories, which kind of feed of what is happening. Criminality is based on environment. That I agree with. If the child grows around antisocial family or criminal parents, as I was talking about earlier, or lives in poverty or a disadvantaged community, then they're more likely to mimic the behavior around them. I represented through the years as a lawyer individuals And then I began representing their children who grew up, and they weren't juveniles, they were adults. And then I represented some of the children's children who were juveniles over the years, and few of them were adults. And the truth of the matter is they were from a crime family, and that was what they were taught. And it's quite clear as individuals, as it says, unemployment, lack of education, lack of access to resources uh, is why a lot of crime occurs. I was in a program called Probation Challenge, where I worked with one of the judges in criminal court, where if you came before the judge, and I've talked about this before, and if you did not have your GED and you committed a crime that qualified you for probation, then you could seek to uh, have the opportunity given to get your GED. If you completed the program, got your GED, and came back before the judge would dismiss those charges. Well, it's on the books now, but it wasn't on the books then. But what we discovered is that individuals who actually took the judge up on that and actually completed the process started finding that was a new way of thinking, a new way of life, and that they ended up going from their GED to their associates and some the bachelors, and at least one we know, with the help of the governor, he ended up becoming a lawyer, a criminal defense lawyer. So, uh, so the key thing is that if you don't have resources to survive, you might commit crime. Now, I'm not talking about individuals who are on drugs. We're not talking about them. We're talking about there are some people who are not on drugs. It's just what I call a get over attitude that they have. And rather than to work, go to school, get an education, they will rob and steal and burglarize from you who have worked hard and continue to work hard to earn it. Or as there was a guy named John Houseman, he was in Paper Chase, but they did a Smith Barney commercial, and he used to say, Smith Barney does it the old-fashioned way. You have to earn it. And that's what I say. I say it to my students. I says, you got to do this thing the old-fashioned way. You got to learn it so that you can earn it, and it will and take you into higher heights of success in life. Strain occurs when the individual feels frustrated at not being able to achieve their goals through socially acceptable means such as education, employment, and resort to criminal behavior to achieve success, which is an oxymoron. Okay. All right. And then finally, um, some people contend that individuals who live in lower class communities are exposed throughout life to a different set of values, and those values view the commission of crime as acceptable. In other words, it's a way of life. It's just ordinary and regular. So, and the key thing is that um, you're inevitably going to end up behind bars. You know all the parties that are involved. Okay. So recent scholars in criminal behavior, as we complete this section, believe that criminal behavior is defined by what we call vertical integration. Means that crime and antisocial runs like a ladder. So it runs not horizontally, but up and down, beginning with, it says the physics going increasingly higher from biology to psychology to sociology. So in other words, that the theories pretty much bring all of these together to determine why people commit crimes. So that's kind of the essence of it. And here's some information that can help you There's that information that you already know about from earlier. Okay. So that's why people commit crimes. So the rational choice theory says that people make deliberate calculations to do things in their own interest. We've kind of chewed that already. People make a conscious effort for selfish reasons uh, to commit crimes. And that, for example, it gives here a well-known fact that homes with burglar alarms, barking dogs, and outside property lights are less likely to be broken into than those without those items. For this reason, burglars see these items as presenting a high risk. If you could see where I live on a corner. I live on a residential street, but there's an open area. I have ADT. I have cameras. I have a big fence around the back, and I have a big dog. Okay, and so and then our 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 alarm would go off, but you would be caught on camera as well. So most burglars see that as an opportunity to say, no, we're not going to do that. That means that they are uh, somewhat smart in terms of thinking about it. So let's look at this. The motivated offender, the absence of a guardian makes one a suitable target. And that's kind of like what I just said. It's called the classic rat crime act triangle. So you got a motivated offender who looks at and sees there's nothing to protect that house, and that house is maybe in an isolated area, and that it's an easy target, and that is more likely the place that would happen. Coulson and Felsen mentioned, according to the routine activity theory, the best way to reduce crime is if there are individuals known as handlers. These are individuals who decrease the likelihood of crime because they act as monitors. Examples include parents who monitor and chaperone your own children, supervisors who monitor employees, school resource officers, and employers who install surveillance cameras on work sites and parking lots and things like that. So that kind of goes back with what I just said a few minutes ago. So it makes it less of an attractive thing for individuals. All right, we got about 4 minutes left. So let's talk about the rational choice theory and the routine activity theory. So they meet up, and the key thing is that the absence of security is an open invitation. Um, so as these two researchers, Felsen and Cohen, say, and I agree with them, that criminal activities are structurally significant phenomenon, meaning that violations are neither random nor trivial. That is, that they make their choice as to what their mark will be. That's why your insurance company will give you a break if you have alarm systems and cameras of that nature, because decreases, it doesn't eliminate, but it decreases the chance of burglary. There are some people who commit burglary, they don't notice that, they won't pay attention to it, but most do. Most do. Does anybody know why burglars wear black generally? Well, I'll tell you. The reason is it's because burglary originally was a crime that was committed in the nighttime, and it's dark and you couldn't see the individuals, and it's hard to identify the individuals. But the point of the matter is that they would blend in with the area, and that was the reason for that. Yet burglars now pretty much they still will do it. They will still wear dark clothing. So so let's talk about what theorists Cohen and Felsen argue about structural changes in our routine and the influence of crime. It says certain circumstances and locations entail a lower risk of victimization, such as home and family activities. So let's talk about the Green River people. Who says serial killers choose their victims carefully. They watch the routines. They watch what you do. And research shows that the Green River killer, Gary Ridgway, focused his efforts on prostitutes, people that people would not miss, and um, and the routines of those individuals. Similarly, in New Jersey, the murders, the first victims duo was a man frequenting a go-go bar and parked their BMW in the establishment parking lot and recognize the person as an attractive target. So they scope out the individuals before they commit crimes. That's what a lot of those serial killers do. Um, I like John Wayne Gacy. We had here in Illinois. He took young boys and he sexually assaulted them and would kill them. Um, um, Jeffrey Dahmer, he would have people that were, end up people would not miss, and he would have sex with them. He would mutilate their bodies, and then actually ate the flesh. He was carnivorous. He was crazy. So says, for example, a student attending night classes in a town known for its high crime rate may decide that parking on campus is too expensive. So you park away and walk. Not a good decision. And you can find yourself becoming one of those victims. So they target their people and watch the habits of those individuals. Okay. So now we come to the end. It's 8:01, but basically be aware of this. We already kind of talked about this. The crime control methods with cameras, surveillance, and things like that. Um, Deterrence was developed in what they call a three-tier approach. Um, Certainty refers to the certain likelihood of being caught. Severity means the speed to which the punishment is imposed. The faster the criminal achieves punishment, the likelihood that it may help them with their choices. And then finally, the severity of the punishment. Um, all three of these issues come about when we dealing with criminals and sentencing. Increasing punishment is the easiest deterrent to change because it involves increasing the sentence. But research also shows that criminals who serve longer sentence are more likely to reoffend. I've already said this before that the longer a person is in prison, they're exposed to other individuals and they will teach them how to become criminals. That is why individuals who are wrongfully convicted can spend many years in jail, in prison, and then get exonerated, and then they get in trouble. And the reason is because they adapted to what it took to survive while they were behind the bars. And so that's that. Okay. Any questions? Any questions? Questions? No questions. I think this is a social scientist discussion today, pretty much. But what we have to understand as criminal justice individuals is, number one, stop and think why individuals commit crimes. But I think we're quite clear in knowing that we're in a time today where um, poverty and drugs and mental illness play a role in probably most of the crime that takes place that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, almost all of it. One of the questions I would ask my clients sometimes is, why did you do that? One guy told me that the reason he shot somebody was, that had nothing to do with it, is that they were in the way of the person he needed to shoot, so he had to shoot them to get to the other person. But that shows that, again, by any means necessary, they were selfish in terms of their thoughts. Okay, again, I will send you some information that can kind of give you some theories and things as to how some of these individuals look at crime. Any other questions? Nothing? Any ideas? Throw a few out. You have a long story, I can make sure. Okay. Do you want, want me to open up your mic for you for that? Okay. Hold on. Okay. Your mic open? I thought I heard you.
Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
Yeah, now I hear you. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay. All right. So we went on vacation to Branson, Missouri. We had a teenage individual watch our home. Her father was also a good friend of ours who also works for the sheriff's department. To make the long story short, I was at the Dam tour in Branson, Missouri, and my son walks in and he says, "We were just robbed." I said, "How can you be robbed?" I said, "You have concealed carry in the car. You're 3 males. What do you mean you just got robbed?" He goes, "No, Mom, our house just got burglarized." Oh, so the daughter that was watching our house was the daughter of a sheriff's deputy. So she ultimately had a party, invited individuals who had a criminal history and drug history. They, of course, took multiple items, moved our gun safe completely out of the house, tipped it over. It was too heavy, couldn't lift it up. That was, thank God, safe. Anyways, so these individuals, we went through the court cases, went to every hearing. They both were on probation. Conditions were drug rehab, restitution, things like that. They have both continued on to be domestic violence offenders. One is up for attempted murder charges right now, and has been and always associated with one of the cocaine dealers in our town. And the other one simply showed up on traffic charges, which led to some more domestic violence and aggravated charges with the use of a weapon and things like that. They just simply have not learned their lesson, and they've always been put on probation or conditionary terms, and haven't served more than the 48 hours or 30 days in jail.
These are juveniles, right?
They were juveniles they started out as juveniles. They have a juvenile history, which, can't be talked about in Illinois, and it's expunged automatically with certain conditions. But however, they were over 18 at the time, and they are now being charged as adults over and over again, and continuously being thrown on the probation board.
Okay.
Except for the one up for attempted murder charges, I think his good game is over.
Mm-hmm. But you know what, though? What you just described pretty much described um, the social aspects, sociological aspects that we've been talking about. Do you agree?
I do. The one kid had a history. He was verbally and physically abusive to his sister and his mother.
Mm.
I worked in the school system as well, so I know those things about him. The other kid came from generations of drug abuse and drug sales.
But that's my point, is that earlier what I was saying is that people have a hodgepodge, but in our society today, most of the reasons why people commit crimes have to do with socials, sociological circumstances. And like I said, again, going back to what I said earlier, that drugs, mental illness, and those are the things that pretty much give us our criminals. So, yeah, well, thank you for that. I'm going to pick a key phrase for you to use. And it's one that I'm pretty fond of in terms of understanding why uh, criminals uh, commit crimes, and we talked about it tonight. What do you think it is? Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, I know about that situation. Not your situation. I mean, I know about individuals who have those situations. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate. Any other any ideas for a key word or phrase before we adjourn? We're over our time. So what do you think? What's your overall um, feeling about theories that we talked about tonight? Nobody? I'll give it to you. Sociological theory. Sociological theory, which, give me that, which goes back to, if you look at the, where is that? Back down here. Here we go. This, it goes down here. Social. The last one. Sociological theory. That's the one. Give me that, and you get your points. All right, guys. I'm gonna say good night to you. Um, Joey, you can reach out to me later on that because I'm not quite clear on what you're asking me because you got something privately. Try not to do things privately because I want to always put it out so everybody can see it. But if you need to reach out to me, you can reach out to me either after this or either tomorrow, sometimes one or the other. Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to say good night to each of you. So now you know what the key phrase is. See you next week. And then look for some material I'm going to be sending to you in just a few minutes as well. Okay. Good night, guys. See you next week.